Hello, welcome to Page and Pint video update number 3. Today I am drinking Founder's Mortal Bloom Hazy IPA. I'll be honest, this is the second take of this video. That's why this beer's half drank already. I'm getting used to this microphone. I don't love it. It feels very unnatural. This beer is great. It is, I think, for a mass-produced hazy IPA, I don't know how good one of those can be. I think Founders distributes all over the country, if I'm not mistaken. So in that sense, it's a solid offering. I think it's a year-round offering from Founders. It's good. It's got citrus, a little bit of fruitiness, like orange and pineapple, well balanced. Yeah, I think this is actually a little old. I got it on the Publix buy one get one, a Florida treasure. So I think they're probably trying to get rid of it. But yeah, it's good. I love Founders. All Day's one of my favorites. All right, so I've got 3 books to talk about today. 2 books that I really enjoyed, one that I really didn't enjoy. But I'm going to start with my favorite, which is Martyr. I finished this book today, and I loved it. It is just can't recommend it enough. It follows Cyrus, a Iranian American writer who is a recovering alcoholic, kind of early in his recovery. I think he's like a year sober, maybe. He lost his mom at a really young age, and later in life lost his dad, and he's become sort of obsessed with this idea of martyrdom and having a death with that serves a purpose and has meaning, not only for himself, but his writing project that he's working on is uh, kind of telling the stories of martyrs in the past in history. And as part of that writing project, part of like the research for it, he finds this Iranian woman who has stage 4 breast cancer, who is an artist, who is putting on a piece in a museum. I forgot the name of it, where she's basically allowing people to come into this exhibit, sit down and talk with her about dying and anything they want, but um, and she's going to stay in that museum till she dies, basically. So he read about this and flies to, I think it's DC, and goes and has these conversations with this woman. That's the main throughput storyline of the book. And those conversations are, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but it's like the best thing I've read to date, I think. On top of that, there's chapters peppered in throughout the book of um, stories from his mom's life, his dad's life, and his uncle's life, his mom's brother's life. Um, and also there's like chapters of dreams that he's having, and you also get to read chunks of his book that he's working on, which is a little meta. I thought that book was going to put me in a reading slump because of how good it was. It was like every page I would just have to like reread a paragraph because I felt like I wasn't it had so much meaning to offer and I wasn't digging in enough, if that makes sense. I just loved it. It's one I got it on Libby, and I'm gonna buy a physical copy just so it's gonna be a reread 1,000%. So I finished that today, and I was so scared that I was gonna hit a reading slump that I knew I had to follow it up with something good. And I haven't read anything by Claire Keegan, but all I've heard is praise for her writing. You can't. I've heard everything's good. I'm trying to remember the name of the one book that she's most known for. Small Things Like These. I think it's a green cover. That's like the go-to. Um, this was great. It's 3 short stories. The writing itself, it's effortless to read. I read it in one sitting. It's very short, but it's these stories. There's not a ton happening, which is why it's surprising um, how kind of into the world of each story you get pulled into. Yeah, the writing's just great. I'm I'm not good at talking about what I like about writing. Maybe I'd like to get better at that. But to me, the effortlessness is what stood out. Like just very easy to read, um, but not in a way that diminished the feelings and the messaging she's putting across. So two great books, which brings me to the third book, The Circle by Dave Eggers. Dave Eggers. This book took me so long to read. I struggled through this book. I want to be clear that I don't want to make videos where I just shit on books. So I'm not going to do that, but I am going to say what I didn't like about it, with the caveat that there's thousands of people that would love this book, I'm sure. If I read this at a different point in my life, maybe I would have liked it more. Um, so The Circle follows May, who gets a job at, I talked a little about this in the last video. She gets a job at The Circle, which is a big tech company. Her friend Annie gets her a job in customer support, basically. So she's answering uh, chat messages from customers. And what I just explained is the first 270 pages of the book. It is very slow to start. And even on page, I know it's around 270 because I remember the first thing happening that was semi interesting, and I checked the page, and that's where it was. It's just wasn't not a lot happening. My other issue with the book is this premise has been done a lot, and I don't think this book offers a new take on it. She's working. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers. There's not a lot to spoil, but um, she's working at this tech company. You slowly figure out it's like evil, essentially. Like they're invading everyone's privacy and they're developing these products that are like, to any rational person, um, it's insane. They want to control the elections. They want to put cameras on everybody's neck. They want to install or send out drones to like heat map people's houses to like see what's going. It's just like obviously crazy stuff. And then you have this character May who, for some unexplored reason, is just like, yeah, this is all fine, and her family and everyone around her is like, that's like crazy, and they all stop talking to her, and she's like, not. She's extremely unlikable, and it was frustrating to read. There isn't a ton I enjoyed about it. I will say, if this was less than half the length, this could be a 200-page young adult book, because I think the whole Orwellian type story should be told today. There's like concepts of live streaming and stuff in this, which I think is more relevant today. I think this was written early 2010s, like 2012 or so. But that story still has a place. That type of story still has a place in our culture. I just wish there's no one that needs to hear this message that would get through the first 270 pages to like get to that message, if that makes sense, because of how much of a struggle it was to read. That's just my take. Again, art is subjective. I'm sure other people would love it. In terms of what I'm reading next, I did a big Goodwill book haul last week. So I've got a lot to read there. And then we went to a bookstore today and I picked up Post Office by Charles Bukowski, which I read, I think it's called Factotum, in high school, and I really loved it. I haven't read anything since, and I want to get in. I want to explore his catalog. So excited for that. I also got The Trial by Kafka, and I have read nothing by Kafka. I don't know if I'll read these next. I'm kind of leaning towards Post Office next. It feels nice to not know what I'm reading next. I'm excited to pull a book off the shelf. So yeah, thanks for watching, and that's it. Cheers.